Hello everyone. I would like to take an opportunity to walk you through the basics of how to use Roll20 as a player. And today we're going to use, as an example, The Darkest Dream, created by GUI Cube, as our basic module to learn how to use some of the tools that are available for us in Roll20 as a player. When you subscribe to Roll20, it's free. It doesn't cost you anything as a player to be able to get into the game and to play, which is very wonderful for a system that we can use in any way, whether it be through a digital tabletop or over the internet from long distances, to be able to play this wonderful game. When you log into Roll20 and you create your account, the GM of the game that you're playing can send you an invite. They can either email it to you, or they can link it into some sort of permanent or private message or a text or something of that sort. And when you link on that, it should allow you to be able to link to the game itself, and you will see the game come up in your games list. You'll notice I have a bunch of games here, but within the games list you will be added to the list of players in the game, and you notice that I have 5 players in my game that I run. I'm a DM, and so my screen is going to show a little bit more, but this is the basic image that you see when you load as a player. And then when you want to load into the game, you would just click the Launch Game button, and that will take you into the game. When you're in the game as a player, this is what your user interface looks like. You're going to see a tool ribbon on the left. You're going to see your control tabs over here on the right. You're going to see a zoom bar. And then you're going to see the ability to scroll up and down and left and right. If you create custom macro control buttons, you may see those along the bottom here. And then you'll also see along the bottom the avatars, or just the names of the individuals who are playing in the game. If there were more individuals in the game today, you would see more names right down here. You can customize how you want that layout to look by going to your My Settings tab, and you can have a full avatar there. There's actually an in-game video and chat function within Roll20 that you can turn on and off in your settings, but today we will not cover that. What I wanted to do was just show you the basics of how the game works. This is your battle map. You see a grid on the battle map. You see that there are tokens associated with different characters on the battle map itself, and then you see the images behind that. Very standard RPG, and you can zoom in and out if you would like. You can move the map around if you would like. The way that I am moving the map around is I am actually right-click and holding until I see the little hand, and I'm dragging the map around on the screen. You can do the same thing by moving your scroll bars, but sometimes the right click and hold is an easier way to do it. And then you can zoom in if you want to be able to zoom in. Okay. Say you want to interface with your particular character or token. Fleegan is a character in the game, and this is his token, and I can click on that. Okay, I can move that token around the map, and it'll move around in each one of these squares as a token. If I want to be able to get to the character sheet of him, I can do it in one of 2 ways. I can either shift double click on the token, and it'll bring up his character information and character sheet, and then I can switch through the tabs on the character sheet here. Or I can go to my Journal tab. I can find that character and click on it and bring up that character sheet itself. So there are different ways of doing that. But I'm going to go ahead and go around the user interface first, and then we'll get back into some of the details. First of all, on your tool ribbon, you have your select and your move ribbon. Okay, so if you want to be able to select a token, you might want to make sure that you are on the select tool, and you would select that token. If you want to move the screen around in pan view, you would either have to click on that and then left click and drag, or honestly, you never really have to switch to that because you can right click and drag, and it'll always do the same thing. You have a drawing tool. You can draw shapes, or you can draw freehand on the screen, or you can draw a polygon line where you click, go to another spot, click, go to another spot and click, go to another spot and click, and then if you right click it stops. And you can go here, click, right click, and it stops. That's what polygon does. And it makes a shape. And then text, if you want to be able to type something. Okay. And then you have colors and shapes and other things within the text tool that you can use. You have a few different fonts you can choose. You have sizes and obviously colors. If you want a different way to zoom, you can always do that, but as we talked about, zooming in and out, or even scroll wheel, can sometimes help with that depending on what setting you have it on. A measuring tool is quite useful. The measuring tool is able to show you on the map how far something may be away from your location in your token. So that can tell you, okay, I can move 30 feet, I can move to there. Or am I within range of being able to do something for a spell or an attack or some other function. This is a snap to the center for the tool, measuring tool, snapping to the corner, snaps to the corner there, and then no snapping at all. It just measures from a specific point that you click. And you can also hide that from others so that you're the only one who sees that if you're measuring. So you can turn that on and off. Okay, you have a rolling tool here that makes it really easy to roll. Say you want to roll 1d6, you would just click on that. I'm going to go over to our chat. I'll see if I want to roll a 1d6. I click on that, and you'll see over here that it rolled 1d6 and it rolled a 1. If you want to do multiples of those, say 2d6, you would just hover over to that, and it will roll 2d6 and add them together. See that over here. So that is the special rolling tool. There's other features in that you can learn down the road as you play with it. And then there's just a help info tool in the tool ribbon if you're interested in using that. So that's your tool ribbon. You may notice over here in a turn order, if you get into an initiative situation, then your GM has the choice of being able to use this tool, and it's very helpful. As long as you have your token selected, if you go into your character sheet and you roll initiative, you'll notice that Fleegan's initiative changed based on the roll that he made. I will do that one more time. You can watch his initiative here. You can watch what the roll result is there. When I click on it, that is actually bright green. He rolled a natural 20 on initiative, plus his initiative modifier, and you'll notice here that that changed to 24.19 as initiative. And that'll show up in the initiative tracker, and then throughout the game, the GM will use the initiative tracker to be able to determine whose turn it is, especially if you're in an initiative or a combat situation. Your control tabs. You have something called the chat tab that allows you to be able to see all of the functions that are done within the game in any chatting. I, as a GM, can choose to chat as the characters that I have access to, or as a player that I might have access to. Your GM can control what you have access to. But if I want to talk, I can always just say test, and we see that. If we were to make an attack roll for a character, I could make an attack roll with his dagger, and you will see that I actually have it set to automatically roll with initiative. But the first roll was a 16. If you hover over that 16, it shows you exactly the calculation of how that attack roll calculated. And then with advantage or disadvantage. You could choose how that number works. If we're not rolling with either advantage or disadvantage, you can always just take the first roll and ignore the second roll. And then if the DM decides that a 16 hits, then you just click here on dagger, and it'll show that the damage was 7 piercing damage. The next tab is the Journal tab. The Journal tab is used to be able to see all of the materials that might be shared with you. And as various materials are shared throughout the game as you discover things and explore, more items will be added to this handout section. In this game, our characters have discovered many different things, and they can look at a handout that was shared with them. So, handout 1, Carnival, has a picture, a pretty picture of a handout of what Carnival looks like in this game, and some information about it. Other information that the GM can share. There's a special way of using money in the GUI cube system, and there's information about how economy and money works here. They just want to quickly share a map without going to a different battle map. Say we want to see a map of the world real quick. We have that handout as well. And that's been shared with the players. So the GM may have a lot more information than he has or has not shared, but he can easily share those with the players as he's going through the game. You'll see that the character sheets are over here, and right now, as a player, I've allowed myself to have access to these two individuals. In some cases, there could be an opportunity for more information that the GM wishes to share. Also special items that maybe have been found that can be shared as well with all of that information. It looks like somebody went and assigned it to an individual, which is good. So that's what will show up in the Journal tab. All of the NPC portraits of individuals that you might have interacted with. Next is the Compendium tab, and if your GM has determined whether or not the compendium is connected to the game that you're playing, you can actually search the D&D SRD, the basic set rules of D&D, to be able to look for things. So say you're looking for the grapple or the blinded condition. We can type in blinded, and it'll immediately take you to that section of the digital rule book, and you can find out what that information is right quickly if there's any question about what the blinded condition means. Or say you want to find out about the spell healing word. You can start typing that in, and you can actually go and see all the information about that spell right there. If you need some class information, like a fighter, you can actually go find the fighter class information. So the compendium is a very useful tool, and I encourage GMs to be able to have that available for their players and share it with them for the games that they have. Next is the Jukebox tab. That is if the GM has decided to have background music playing. That's where you can tell if it's actually playing there. And right now I don't have anything playing in there, but that's how it would work. And you have the Collection tab. The Collection tab is for a few different things. One is macros. As a player, you can make all kinds of different custom macros if you understand the script behind these things. I have created in Rollable Tables a table for homebrew that utilizes a fumble table. So if somebody has a rolls a fumble on an attack, I have 30 different items that could potentially happen when they roll that fumble, and I have them roll on a fumble table. So what I have is I have 30 different attack fumble options that can happen, and then I have a macro that says to roll on that table, and then I have a button in the bar that shows that up down here, so that all we have to do is come down and click on the button, and if I were to roll a fumble, I could click on that button and it'll pick one of those 30 items based on a weighted table of 30 items. And the fumble that I did was bad timing. You drop to the last in the initiative order for the combat, and you don't attack again this turn. So that's something that could happen, and that's something that you do within the collections tab, is you can create your own custom macros to do various things, and all these are just buttons to be able to function to do various actions within the Roll20 system. But then there are decks if the GM decides that he wants to use a deck for some reason, and then there's rollable tables. Now in GUI Cube we have something called GUI Rewards. GUI Rewards is a set of cards that can be used on a rollable table to determine if you get some bonuses that you can use, and that's built into this system as well. And then obviously there's a macro that can roll on the GUI Reward table. And then the last tab is your Settings tab, and this is how you personally as a player can set up how you want to run the game or how you want it to look. You can control some colors in your avatar. You can control whether or not you want to utilize the chat function, the video function in the game, whether you want to roll 3D dice. You can actually turn it on to where you can enable the 3D dice. So if I was to turn that on and then I was to roll for something and click on it, you would actually see the dice roll across the screen. And you see the two different dice that rolled, and if I look in the chat, you'll see that there was the 12 there that rolled and the 14 there that rolled. Okay, so it's just kind of a fun, neat little tool that kind of makes it even a little bit more realistic if you so want. And there's other options that you can turn on and off if you want to. So that is your Settings tab. What's done there. That's also how you exit the game easily, or you can just close the tab if you want to. But usually come in here and exit the game if you want to. Now the character sheet, like I said, you can either shift double click on your token to bring up the character sheet, the first page being bio and intro, the second page being the actual interactive character sheet with its different areas and tabs, and the third being the abilities and attributes tab. There's really no reason for you to be in this tab because this is for more major customization, but if you so choose to utilize it, there are some applications you could use it for. Primarily you have your bio and info, which tells you about your character, and then you have your character sheet, which is what you use most of the time. Within Roll20, right now, I have it set to where these windows cannot go out of the screen. If for some reason I have multiple screens, as many often do, and it's very helpful, you can click on the little pop-out button. That'll actually pop it out into a new window or new browser tab that then you can actually drag to a different monitor if you want to get that off your screen but still be able to see it and use it. Okay. So that's how you can manage some of your different windows that may pop up and still have them available to you if you have multiple monitors. On your character sheet itself, if used and built correctly, anywhere that you hover over and it shows a little pointer hand and it shows up in bright red is something that you can roll on. So often in 5th edition, if you need an acrobatics check, you can just go find and it'll roll that acrobatics check. We'll go check the tab here. It'll say that it rolled acrobatics, and we rolled a 9 plus the +6 modifier for acrobatics for a total of 15. Real quick, easy way to be able to see if something has been rolled on. Now, you may have seen me rolling to attack with my dagger, and that's another way to do that. And all of the different weapons that are in here you can use for that. You can track your death saves or your death, how those work. You can track your hit points here. You notice he only has 1 hit point left out of a maximum of 18 because they just came out of a fight. But this character sheet is laid out exactly like your normal familiar character sheet that you might use. I'll show you spells. So if I go find Kenna here, and I go to her character sheet, and I go to her spells, what I have here is a very typical spell sheet that you're normally used to seeing, and in here there are spells. If you want to see what the spells do, you can always click on the info bubble to see what the spell does, and in some cases you can click on them if you want to use them, and it'll show you the effect of what they do. But if I go back to my core tab, you'll see that Chill Touch is an attack, and it's right here. It's easy enough just to say, okay, I want to cast Chill Touch, and I'll find out if it actually hits as a spell attack. And a 24 will probably hit because I rolled an 18 plus the 2 plus the 4 as a caster to determine that I got a 24 to attack. And then if that hits, then I'll roll the Chill Touch for the damage, and it shows me what the damage is. If you were to cast something that would require a creature that you casted upon to make a saving throw, then the GM would make the saving throw and tell you whether it was effective or not, and you would tell them how you would want to do that, how you would want to handle that. So that's where your spells go. Now, something really, really nice about Roll20 and the SRD in the compendium is that if you want to add things to your character sheet, it's as simple as dragging and dropping. So like I said, I want Healing Word. Okay? So if I wanted to add Healing Word to this character, I would come into the compendium, I would find the spell Healing Word, I would click and drag, and you'll see it dragging over, and it says accepting drop from compendium. If I drop it onto the character sheet, it should show up on here right there. There it is. Okay? So it puts it exactly where it's supposed to go, and now it's added to the character sheet. Well, this character doesn't have Healing Word, and this character can't cast Healing Word. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to unlock this, and I'm going to find the trash can for that, and I'm going to delete it. But you can do that with items. Say there is a club, and they want to find or use that club. I could always drag the club onto the character sheet, and you'll see club is added to their attacks and spellcasting and their items. Okay, and now I have a club and the ability to use the club, and if I come back over here and I click on club, it makes a club attack. So a lot of times it's as simple as just dragging and dropping items. If you want to customize the items, it's just as simple as finding that particular item and you see a little gear show up. If you just click on the gear, you can customize all the information about it. If it's got something special, or it's got a different name, or it's got a special attack modifier to it, or it's magical, or whatever it is, you can always adjust everything on all of these sheets based on rule modifications or homebrew changes that you need to make and stuff like that. As far as a character goes, if you want to really customize your character and they have special attributes or special other things that need to be modified, you can always go into the gear section here, and all of the custom settings are located here. That is a real basic overview of the character sheet. In fact, all of their skills and everything are down here too. So when added to a character sheet, it's just as if you have the character sheet in front of you. Now there is a D&D Beyond Roll20 plugin that allows you to be able to use your created D&D Beyond character sheets cross-linked to Roll20, and you can do everything from D&D Beyond. But if you don't have that, you don't have subscription to it, or you don't use that, you can always use these character sheets as well. With The Darkest Dream built for Roll20, we have pre-generated character sheets for all of the 24 pre-generated starter characters for this adventure. And so all of those are built into the system. So if your GM is running this game for you, you can always just grab one of those character sheets and they are ready to go immediately. And then you can modify them in any way you see fit. You can change names. You could change background and character information, things like that. It's your choice. It is a collaborative game, and obviously it's the limit is your imagination. Something you may see here is a little icon pin that if you click down here, you can actually see there's a lot of different pins that you can put on a token to demonstrate it. Say it got slowed, you can always throw a snail pin on it or something, and then if you're not using it, you can take it off. This particular character had mage armor on, so it has a little extra shield to denote that it's got mage armor on right now, so that it's easy to recognize and not forget that that's a modifier to that base character itself. If we kill something, often the GM will come in and exit out just to be able to show that it's no longer active, or they can come in and they can delete the token. But using token tags or pins is a very useful way to be able to demonstrate the condition that a particular character or asset on the board is under. There's other things that you could do with tokens. Instead of shift double clicking on it to bring up the character sheet, you can just double click on the token, and here's the token settings. You can tell what the bar is and what it does. You can show auras. Say that there's a 30-foot aura, and anybody within that 30-foot aura now is affected by something, and you can have that show to everybody, which can be very helpful. There's a lot of clerics that have that kind of stuff. So that's what auras can be used for. You may see these three bubbles here at the top of the token, and most DMs use those in any way that they see fit, but from what I know is that the green is the health button, and the blue is the armor class, and the red is the spell save DC, but they can be set to anything you want them to be set as. One of the neat things is if you want to adjust hit points, instead of having to go to the character sheet, it's just as easy to click in the area. You see the little modifier bubble open up and say I need to lose 2 hit points. I can type in -2 and it'll auto-calculate it for you. You don't even have to do the calculation in your head. Or you can just type it in. Say we go back to 10 hit points and we're there. Or we go back to 5 hit points and we're there. Or we need to get healed 7 hit points and we're there. So that's a simple, easy way to be able to adjust those values. And they do tie to the character sheet as well. So as you modify them here, they modify on the character sheet, or as you modify them on the character sheet, they modify here. I hope this has been a very helpful overview of how, as a player, you can use Roll20. I hope that you enjoy your time playing in this system, and we hope that you consider using and playing the GUI Cube adventures as they come available on Roll20. And most of all, we encourage that all of your adventures be sticky. Have a good day.